Hi, Reese.
Hi, man. All right. Yeah, thank you for doing this for me.
Mate, pleasure.
So we can start off by telling me just what happened.
Yeah, in 2017, I had an accident. I was playing rugby professionally, had been for 10 years. Played it,
Yeah.
was playing at the Dragons at the time, and I was recovering from a shoulder injury and went back to a family friend's house um, for just to use the pool because it was a nice day, and
Yeah.
effectively got the deep end and the shallow end mixed up because it was like a feature pool. So they had a waterfall in one end. I dived in where the waterfall hit the water, and I thought it was deep, and it wasn't. And I hit my head on the bottom and fractured, dislocated C6, C7, the bottom of my neck, and left me. One of the bits of disc exploded into my spinal cord, and it left me paralyzed from the shoulders down. Um, and yeah, then I was sort of in hospital for, well, I had a 7 hour operation, sort of put the cage in and realign stuff and pick bits of bone out my spinal cord. But I was category A1, Asia A1 for 2 weeks. I didn't have any movement or sensation
Yeah.
return. So I was told that that was potentially going to be me, but I got lucky after soon after that, I had some movement return in my toe, and bit by bit, sort of my body came back to me. Now I left hospital after 4 months, and now I still struggle with the certain elements. So I'm a technically incomplete quadriplegic, and I've
Yeah.
got Brown-Séquard syndrome. So one half of my body functions poorly in terms of motor function, but
Yeah.
has normal sensation, and the other half functions well in terms of motor function, but has poor sensation. And then I have the underlying health issues that go along with spinal cord injuries, bladder, bowel, sexual
Yeah.
function issues,
Oh,
temperature
that's it.
regulation, all of those sorts of things. Yeah.
I mean, it's mad how you were able to get back on your feet, though, right? Dude, that's incredibly lucky, like.
Yeah, so lucky, mate. I mean, I've written a book called Lucky. That's how lucky it was. I
Yeah.
think it was one of those situations where the scans and the presentation after a couple of weeks really wasn't looking positive.
Yeah.
Um, but then a bit of divine intervention. I'm not sure what it was. Every spinal cord injury is different, right? So I was just fortunate that I obviously had enough to work with there, and to be able
Yeah.
to get back mobile. I feel very fortunate because I'd accepted I'd accepted the fact that that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
So I was working through that acceptance stage, but
Yeah. That's
so
good.
everything since then has been a bonus, to be honest. So, because people are like, how can you be in a good mood, or feel happy about the fact that you were a professional sportsman, and
Yeah.
now you can't control your bladder properly and you can't run anymore. And I'm like, yeah, but you know when you realize how what what where things
Yeah,
could
that's
have
right.
been and where you are now, it's all a perspective thing, right?
Yeah, sure. That's what people always say to me, like, do they say, how do you deal with a disability? And, that was the reason why I became a motivational speaker. It's just to
Yeah,
teach people, things are not that bad. I mean, I know disability may seem bad, but to us, like you just said, do we accept it very easy, don't we? Like,
yeah, exactly. You've got to accept it. You've got two options, haven't you? You can let it break you and beat you up and
yeah,
break you down and feel sorry for yourself, or you can just feel fortunate to even be alive, and then and get on with things and work with what you've got.
that's true. To live life for each day, isn't it? I mean, live life each day like it's your last. I mean, that's what, that's what I've always done.
Yeah. How are you doing that? So where are you? Where are you living?
But I live in Pontypridd.
Oh, right, okay.
And so, with my condition, I can't do nothing but around the ventilator. I can drive my trailer, but I drive this with my son. So
Oh,
my
yeah.
son that works, right? But I have as close to 21 other kids as I possibly can have. So carers come back and forth, but I'm okay. Like, I like my independence. I like living on my own.
Yeah. So how often do you have carers in?
Well, so this is the sticky wicket I'm facing currently is their chest hearing wheels, right? They don't give you 21 hour care. So they won't give me the money to live independently. So if I wanted 24-hour care, I'd have to go to the NHS, and they would give me an agency. And with an
Yeah.
agency, there's no freedom at all. But the way I do it
Yeah.
is a thing called direct payment. So I pay my carers. So they come in perhaps for 3-4 hours a day, maybe. They come in on shifts.
Yeah.
I have a night sit there. So yeah, I do all right, right?
Do you get out much to do? Do you get out and about much? Do they
Yeah,
help with that,
well,
or?
recently, right, I just made a documentary on my life. That's when I met Phil, like, and then he sent me contact you, and through conversation, right? But yeah, I go out quite a bit. I do motivational speaking gigs. Before lockdown, I was very busy, but then lockdown happened, and all my work got taken off me. So
Yeah.
that was a bit of a bummer, right? How did you
Yeah.
find lockdown?
Yeah. I mean, it was. To be honest, it wasn't that different for me because I'd been living at home. I'd been living because it was 2 years post accident, so I'd been kind of at home rehabbing and stuff anyway, and working out from home, and then I was then working on rugby, so that went out the window for a bit. And I
Yeah,
was doing motivational talks like you, but then that transitioned onto Zoom, or onto online.
yeah,
So managed to carry that on to a certain extent. I also live out in the countryside, so it's quite nice. I can get out and about from my house.
yeah,
And I mean, even more than me, like having a disability, especially the first 6 months, when not being able for me not being able to leave the house,
it's
I mean,
horrible.
lockdown's not really a massive change,
No, no,
for
it's the same for
we
me,
kind of.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right about that. So is your house adapted then? Do you have hosts and things?
No, I have. I did.
Yeah,
I moved back in with my parents, who had an adapted house, and that was actually for my granddad before me. So I was just lucky that all that stuff was already in there. Now I have extra handrails around the place, handles in the shower, things like that, but
yeah,
nothing. I'm quite fortunate because I don't really use the chair anymore, and I can manage steps as long as I've got something to hold on to.
yeah.
I'm okay around the house.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, makes a
Did you
difference.
notice, right, when you became disabled? Did those people were treating you differently?
Um, Yeah, I do now. I notice it now
Yeah,
because it's quite a contrast between, and not in a negative way, but
no,
like
no, it's,
before being a professional rugby player, you're kind of used to people, I don't know, getting out your way when you're walking to the bar or something like that, or
yeah,
just like you're helping other people. Now people are like, oh, or constantly, oh, are you okay? Are you all right? Do you need help with that? And that used to annoy me because
yeah,
it used to make me feel that I wasn't capable. Um, but I've come to sort of just accept the fact that they don't mean anything by it. It's
no,
not a
they don't
negative
need.
thing, and in fact, it's the exact opposite. They're trying to help, and often people just don't know what to say. They
Yeah,
don't know how to act, and
yeah, that's
and they
exactly
feel
right.
a bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, no, well, see, I've been disabled a long time, right? And back in like 87, people were really awkward about it, and people really didn't know what to do. But, in the last 20 years, like you just said, you want some help from people there. I mean, sometimes we don't need the help, but I don't know, it shows good intention, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's, yeah, positive intention, exactly that. And I speak to a lot of people who are recently, I'm sure you do as well, but like who are
Yeah,
recently um, injured or required a disability, and that transition obviously is difficult in the early stages. And a lot of the comments you get are, um, that people are being insensitive, or people are
yeah,
trying to help too much, or people are not, or sometimes like that people aren't there for me, and you've got to understand. I'm trying to explain to them, and I thought that as well, that people just don't know how to act in certain
no,
situations, and a lot of the time it's reflective of their own personal situation. If they're struggling with it, they'll act in weird ways, and it's never to take it personally. It's just to sort of
yeah,
accept it, and try and understand it.
So, I mean, I know some disabled people who are very angry about the situation, and maybe rightfully so. But you don't find a way of releasing that anger. I mean, really, I've never been angry personally. I've always been alright to accept it. But I can see how some of us can't accept it.
Yeah,
And
yeah. I know it's. I get it. Like I do get it, but at the same time, there's no. For me, I reached a point where I realised that there was no point being annoyed about things that I had no effect over, or that had
yeah,
already happened, or that even that were going to happen in the future. Like I was just causing myself more harm and more pain. So and I'm again, I'm one of the fortunate ones who's back on my feet. I'm independent. I can drive a car. A
yeah,
lot of people can't do that. So it's easy
yeah,
for me to say that. But when you've got people like yourself, Reese, who are more
yeah,
impaired, if you like, from their
yeah,
disability, but still have a positive outlook, I think it's so important to have those role models for other people to start questioning whether they really should be annoyed and
yeah, that's
angry.
right.
And it's all about perspective. And one of my mates, Matt Hampson,
Yeah,
he's C1 spinal cord injury. I'm sure you know who he is,
yeah,
and he was in my mind pretty early on.
yeah,
And
yeah, he's done it.
I was thinking,
Yeah,
if Matt's not complaining about it, then what right do I have, to
yeah,
complain
that's right.
about it? So it's important.
I mean, it must have been quite a shock initially, though. I mean, to go from a fit rugby player lifestyle and then not being able to do that anymore. Do you miss playing rugby?
Um, Weird one. Sometimes when I go to the games, I miss that buzz. I miss running out the
Yeah,
tunnel. But to be honest, I did it for 10 years, and like I think I did it professionally for 10 years. So I feel like I kind of did it. I think
yeah,
if this injury had happened to me at 22, 23, it probably would have been a lot harder to accept, and I would have missed rugby a lot more. But
yeah,
being being in my late 20s, and my neck injury was my eighth operation. My body was already pretty fucked from rugby in the
yeah.
first place, so it was actually quite nice to not have to
No,
put it through the
wrestling.
ringer anymore. But and also I'm fortunate in the sense that I've got back to a physical state where I can push myself.
Yeah,
Now I do it with mountaineering and sort of endurance challenges. But I really struggled for a while in the first sort of year, 18 months, not being able to even, not being able to move enough to get myself out of breath. Because for
yeah,
me, all my endorphins as a sportsman came from physical activity, and that is obviously the one thing that gets taken away.
yeah, of
Like
course.
I wasn't a big reader or massively into films or gaming or things that I could have still done. For me,
Yeah,
it was about running around, and that's the one thing I couldn't do anymore. So that was a transition to sort of accept that, for sure.
yeah, that must have been tough. I mean, during the disability, you tend to, when it comes to entertainment purposes, you always tend to find a way to keep yourself occupied. And that's what I find. I find it, I suffer from mental health because just the situation we live in it. Your mental health often comes with disability. But to me, it's about distracting the mind and doing positive things. I mean, obviously, have you suffered mental health through this as well?
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely did early, and I completely agree with you that it's about distractions. Like, especially in hospital, when at night when everyone has to leave, you got your family and friends there during the day, but then everyone leaves at night at like six
Yeah,
o'clock, and they're not back until 8 in the morning, and you're just left there with your own thoughts. It was about listening to podcasts, getting movies on, like, and just instead of beating yourself up for feeling bad, actually using positive distractions. For me, that came in the form of writing.
yeah,
Eventually, it was something constructive to do. Like, at the start, it was just dictating to Alexa, but then eventually, when I could move my hand enough to tap an iPad,
yeah,
instead of lying there and trying to fight the thoughts back, I'd get my iPad out and I'd start writing about something, and it would just be a
yeah,
way of distracting me from those negative thoughts. And then the other thing was progress was really important for me to keep in a more positive mindset, because I was constantly getting pissed off that I wasn't
yeah,
further down the line than I was on that day. But if I started filming little things from the day before or the week before, and then moving, something a little bit more or whatever it was, being able to see that I was moving in the right direction helped keep me in a positive state of mind, because your brain's very quick to forget about where you've come from and just think about the stuff you can't do rather than the things you can do.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think that's the thing with most people, though, it is. With everybody, people, you always think of the things you can't do, and that's the key to deal with disability, is focus on other things you can do.
Yeah, for sure. Massively agree with that. And you can do so much. Like even that people just don't even bother going looking for the sort of things that they can do. Like you've obviously done loads with your, with your motivational speaking and getting out and traveling, and like with someone with as severe impairment as yourself, or like Matt Hampson, he started this massive foundation, but people will be sat at home going, well, that's it, I can't do anything anymore. You've just got to take the mindset to go and look for it and see what's out there, really.
That's what you can take inspiration from anyway, can't you, really? I mean, people that we always say, oh, how do you deal with it? And that's really how we deal with it, just by being as positive as they can and just doing stuff.
Yeah, finding some sort of purpose again, right? It's like, mood follows action. You can't sit there and just wait to feel better. You've got to do stuff. You've got to like be proactive, like you said, find distractions, do something constructive, and then you'll feel better. You can't just sit there and wait to feel better and hope that it doesn't work the other way around. There's no sort of knight in shining armor coming to sort of save you. That person's you. You've got to take action and do stuff about it.
Yeah, it's really all the rest of it to be able to get out the right shit situation. It always happens. Even when the situation's not bad, there's always a way of it. You always find a way. It's just us as human beings, isn't it, I guess?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're as a species, we're we're usually pretty good at that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's a journey though. Like it's always, things are always changing. In fact, probably since my accident, I've actually found that I can do way more than I thought I could, because I've been forced to try different stuff. Like I always thought I was Ed Jackson, the rugby player, and that was pigeonholed as me, and that's all I could do. And I was really scared of when my career was going to end, because I was like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do next? Like, I can't do anything else. But this sort of forced me into doing loads of different stuff, because the slate got wiped clean, if you like, and
you're so
doing
much more than
things like
just a rugby player, like. Yeah, I mean,
exactly, so much more. It's removing that identity, and it's dangerous to wrap yourself up in one identity. Like instead of being Ed Jackson, the rugby player, I was Ed Jackson who used to play rugby. Now I do other stuff, and I think it's important to sort of keep that distinction, because if things, if you wrap yourself up in one identity like that, if it gets taken away, you feel like you lost yourself, really. Well, mate, with your muscular dystrophy, like how early did that set in? Like,
for me,
you had it your whole life.
I had a very long time to deal with it. So I was first disabled when I was 13, and I mean, I wasn't completely disabled. I was sitting down at the age of 13, and I can still move my arms and that. So for me, it's been ages, so I had enough time to accept it. I wasn't fully disabled until I was 34, really, I am now. So I put my ventilator on when I was 32. And so I've lost a few things, but it's dealing with I lost. Like I used to do computer animation. When my arms still worked, I was a massive gamer. The same way I miss those things, but it's like every time something is taken away, so I'm finding something new to replace it. So I couldn't do animation anymore. And that be odd, I'll be honest. But in the end, I was okay with it. But after that, my brother passed away, which was, to me, that was a huge challenge. So he was kind of like my version of a wife and kids. He had the same condition as me. he knew, he knew what he was like. He knew the shit, and
Yeah.
that was the hardest challenge I ever had to face, to be honest. And that's the reason why I do motivational speaking. Just I want to be a big brother to those who never had one. Do you mean? And
Yeah.
I want to be like he was to me. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the challenge, and then what with that, obviously that changed my life,
Mm. And he had the same. He had the same condition
Yeah,
as
you
you,
did,
did
yeah.
he? Is it congenital then?
Well, it's genetic, it is, right? It's passed down through the mother,
Yeah.
but it's just nothing to draw, really. It's very rare to have two brothers with the same condition. But,
Yeah.
I looked at that as a privilege because I had someone there who knew what I was going through. I mean, he saw me going through it first, and he kind of learned from me, So that was good, then.
Yeah. I think I was out when I was out in the Paralympics recently. Two of the brothers, the two Scottish brothers who were playing boccia, and I think they had this similar. They definitely had some sort of muscular dystrophy. I don't know if it was exactly the same as yours, but it was similar. But I think, yeah, I remember them saying that it was rare that they both had it,
Yeah,
saying it was genetic. Um,
it's good to have that person who understands you.
yeah, of course, yeah. What about your pet? Like, hard for your parents, so I imagine they still around.
Yeah, my parents are still around, and they help me when they can. But, they get on there, and when I found their freedom and independence, it was an opportunity to give them freedom as well, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So we don't like to be wrong to our parents. I'm sure when you were the same, you didn't want to put any burden on your parents, like,
yeah, yeah. No, difficult, isn't it? That was big motivation for me, and it's amazing that you've found that independence and moved out. And then it's just like I remember thinking there's a big motivator for me whilst I was still, you know, fully
yeah,
well, when I wasn't independent was to try and get to a point where I then wasn't affecting my fiance, my now wife's
yeah,
life, because I that it wasn't just about almost the motivation for me to get better by myself wasn't enough to put the effort in that was needed. It
yeah,
was when I've changed that focus onto what this would potentially mean for Lois
yeah,
that I found the motivation. Now she would have been, she probably would have been absolutely fine with it, and
yeah,
but in my mind that was a way of me finding that extra motivation to sort of
yeah.
push on.
I know that
But
what I
it's
mean.
just it
Yeah,
it amazes me, mate. Like honestly, I've spent time with people and that the one of the main ways I managed to stay in a good headspace and still do is the fact that my injury or disability, if you like, was always going that way. I was
yeah,
always improving, and I have a massive amount of respect for people whose conditions or
yeah,
disabilities are going the other way, but
yeah.
they can stay positive. I think that's it's amazing. So fair play to you.
But that's the key.
Gosh,
Yeah, but
that is
that was gonna be my next question. I mean, so basically, I'm an advocate for mostly sex and disability and relationships and all that sort of shit. Like, how did it affect your life?
yeah. I mean, it was weirdly, we went through a tough patch because it was um, challenging. Obviously, things changed. I changed completely. The way I looked, even the way I smelt, like the my
Everything.
sexual function was affected,
Yeah,
and it wasn't that it was like negative impact. It was just different, and she had the big "it's not about me" thing,
yeah,
that a lot of support networks do, and
yeah,
they go through it just as bad as you do because it's
yeah,
someone they love, but they don't feel like they can speak up or say that they're struggling because they don't feel, it's not about me, it's about that person, it's about the other person. So she kept quiet for quite a long time, and that came to a head after about 6 months after I came home, and she said she was really struggling.
yeah,
She went to speak to someone, um, and once she told me that, like I just because I'm on the inside looking out, and I'm like, things are great. I'm back on my feet or nearly back on my feet and moving in the right direction. But I was so focused on my rehab and so focused on, trying to help other people, just I found some new purpose in, supporting others and the charity, and that I completely forgot about her really. And I just
Yeah,
thought she must be fine, and she must be fine as well. And she wasn't. And then we worked through it, and, over time got used to everything. And now we're way better than we ever were in the first place, like way
yeah,
stronger. But I think it's just really important for people to understand that the support network is going through it. These disabilities don't just happen to the individual; they happen to
exactly.
everyone that loves them, everyone that cares for them, and often happen worse to the mum, the wife, the brother,
Yeah,
the dad, because they
that's true.
feel like they haven't got any control over it.
Yeah, that's the same with the parents. I mean, same with my parents. You gotta always factor in that they go through the same exact pain as you. Even though we don't see it often, it does affect them. So
Yeah.
sexually, if you don't mind me asking, that do you work?
Yeah, so well, I have to take Viagra or
Yeah,
Cialis to for it to work properly, and then it's a lot harder for me to ejaculate.
yeah,
But it happens every now and again, but very rarely. I
yeah,
actually we're just about to go to the point to sort of um speak to the doctor, or go and get tested to work out about the children's side of things, because we were sort
yeah,
of entering down that road before the injury happened. And then spinal cord injury, it's something that it does affect
yeah.
fertility. So we're just going to assess our options now. So that's sort of the next step.
But I've
Um,
always said that,
but
right?
yeah,
In my speeches, that really right. Like disability is a unique opportunity to experiment and be creative, isn't it? I mean, and to find ways like having children and that.
yeah. What about for you, mate? How's it
Really,
been?
well,
Is it?
I work just fine, actually.
Do you?
Yeah. So, well,
Amazing.
currently, right? So, I've seen, I've been in several relationships, with able-bodied women, but now I'm seeing a girl in the exact same situation as me, and both of us we can't have sex just because of logistics.
Yeah,
So for me, I'm finding a new way to trying to see how I can live without sex. Just she means
yeah,
much to me, and I don't think they're different now. And to me, I've had those sexual experiences, so I would say yes, for now I can live without sex, but we live in a picture house, maybe we can.
yeah. Do you know what? My attitude's changed quite a lot. I was probably before, when I was a rugby player, it was like, I don't know, like a lot more testosterone, and because I had the option to have sex more regularly, I wanted it more regularly,
Yeah,
and then that option went away, and so the urge or the need for it sort of fell in line with that as well. And
yeah,
now I'm completely fine going,
yeah,
weeks without it. And it's great when it happens, but also I'm absolutely fine when it doesn't for long periods of time. But before, I'd be like, oh, there's something wrong if I wasn't,
yeah,
if we weren't having sex every few days, sort of
yeah.
thing.
No, no, that's right,
Yeah,
right. For me, so after my brother died, I became a sex addict. So that's a variant on my life as well. So I just got addicted to it because after my brother died, I was in so much pain. And
yeah,
like an alcoholic, you just keep doing it to try and stop the pain. And
yeah,
like you just said, the more sex you have, the more sex you want.
yeah,
And for me, so I got into terrible death and everything. So
yeah,
this is another thing about my motivation is speaking. I'm keen to say about these things. Like people approach me in my personal situation and say, "Oh, I'm never gonna have sex. How do you do it?" This is kind of what my bag was. So people were coming to me and asking me, and I just said, "Well, this is how I do it, and these things are possible. You can have sex, you can have
yeah,
kids, you can have all these things." And that helped my recovery massively. And then meeting my current girlfriend, who we can't have sex at all. So to me, it's like it's beating my addiction. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
it really makes me believe I'm doing the right thing for once in my life.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? And that's just the mindset you've obviously got as well. It's just looking at opportunities and looking at what you have got and looking at possibilities and reframing all the situations to
Yeah,
take the positives out of them. Rather than just feeling sorry about the things you can't do. So
that's true. I mean,
yeah,
right, it's
yeah,
rather funny, right? Going to therapy for session fiction. I've been in my situation, man. The first time I was laughed at because they're like, "How are you a sex addict?" Dude, I'm not initially here when they check out. But I mean, I
yeah,
have to get back there like everyone else, so.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, accidentally I fell into that, but yeah, I fell into it because I can't take drugs, I can't drink, I can't smoke, So it was a way out of something, if you know what I mean.
yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Well, this was great, like, thanks for talking to me. You've really proven my point, like. I knew speaking to other guys like you would inspire me as well, like.
no, Reece, mate, you're a really inspiring bloke too. So let's stay in touch. Yeah.
Yeah, right,
Cheers, pal. Bye.
right, right.